Hello my love friend. Welcome to Blow Up, where Reddit's pettiest stories ignite. Today we've got 6 epic revenge tales. Think breaker box tricks, snowed-in snobs, and dandelion warfare. Ready for the drama? Smash that like button, subscribe, and let's dive into the Reddit inferno. I lived in an old house with multiple apartment units. I had the entire first floor and access to the basement near a side entrance. The upstairs neighbors hated me for reasons never clear to me. When I would start a shower, I could hear them run to their bathroom to flush the toilet, which would cause the shower to briefly only run scalding hot water. They also played loud music and jumped around at random times. I learned to start the shower but not get in it until after hearing their toilet flush. I had politely asked them not to play loud music late at night and tried being nice until I found my motorcycle pushed over. It was always chained against my stair railing with a cover on it. I couldn't prove it was them, but it was out of sight from other people and it seemed logical that they did it. One day the power went out and the landlord asked me to check the breaker box on the basement stair near my unit. It was just a local power outage, but it gave me an idea. When their music was loud, I'd shut off all the power to their unit, not others. When I was getting ready for work, I'd step down the stair, flip off the breaker, and enjoy the silence until I was ready to leave. Anytime they were loud, I'd cut their power. The neighbors continued to stomp around the apartment and try to scald me in the shower, but the noise was never an issue again. The peak of my retaliation came on a very cold winter day when I realized the units had separate furnaces located in the basement. I turned theirs off and waited. The landlord called to see if I had any issues and said he would come to look, but couldn't get there until much later. I turned it back on just before his arrival. The landlord asked all the tenants if they were experiencing any issues, but everyone else said it was fine and he never figured out I was the culprit. I'm not proud of my pettiness but still smirk when I think of this. Neighbors got silenced, breaker box style. I bet they're still stomping while OP's smirking. Someone get them earplugs and OP a petty power switch. Apartment feud flipped. That's a power play masterpiece. IT verdict. Is OP the asshole for cutting power, or were neighbors too rude? Would you flip their breaker too or chill? How do you handle noisy neighbors? Drop your take below. And if you've pulled a petty prank, spill it. I'm craving more blow-up worthy zingers. Years ago, at the huge nursing home I worked for, we had a princess. She had a bug up her arse toward me for some reason, maybe because I was the go-to person to get things done and she was not. She would be overheard complaining about me to her pals. I would just laugh. I lived about 10 miles from the work site, and during the winter storms, I was the one that would pick up my coworkers along the way in. Some of whom would call out sick because they didn't want to clear their cars/shovel the snow to get to work. That's bullshit. So this one storm snowed overnight and all the next day. Cars were covered at 3 p.m. I hit my remote starter before leaving the building, put on my snow pants, grabbed my push broom and headed for the parking lot. My 4 passengers were already starting to clear my car when I got there, and together we carried on. Well, here comes Princess, just her uniform pants, under a fancy cashmere coat, V-neck, fur collar, fancy high-heeled leather boots, fancy leather gloves, carrying a pizza box along with her fancy handbag. She is parked right next to us. Oh my god, look at my car, she whines, standing there as we are clearing 8 of my car. Almost done, just doing the headlights and bumpers. I stop and look at her for a moment, in disbelief that she just realized that it was snowing. No worries, I'll help you, I say to her. My passengers are now banging off the snow brushes and getting ready to get in my car. Yes, I handed out snow brushes when we got to work. We all took them into the building, useless if the brushes are in a car covered in snow. I take the pizza box from her hand and set it down on the snow-packed hood of her car. There you go. My passengers are pissing themselves, trying not to laugh out loud as they pile into my car. I keep a straight face as I get in, leaving Princess standing there with her mouth open. She found another job somewhere about 6 weeks later. The poor thing. Snow on her car. Princess got snowed, pizza box style. I bet she's still whining while OP's cruising. Someone get her a shovel and OP a snow savage scarf. Winter clapback nailed. That's a frosty burn. IT verdict. Is OP the asshole for ditching Princess, or was she too snooty? Would you leave her too or help? How do you handle workplace divas? Drop your take below. And if you've thrown snowy shade, spill it. I'm dying for more blow-up worthy chills. My fence is 22 inches from the property line. My neighbor's driveway is also 22 inches from the property line. In between the fence and the driveway is 44 inches of grass. About 2 weeks ago, while I was cutting the grass, the neighbor asked if I would do that whole section. He said that he would get it next time. Well, the next time was 2 days ago, Wednesday, and he only did his half. When I asked him about it, he told me to pound sand. Friday is trash day. He put out his overflowing can this morning, and after he left, I parked my car in front of his can so that the waste management team wouldn't see it. Sure enough, they skipped it. He now has an overflowing can and nowhere to put his trash for one more week. Neighbors slacked, trash got trapped, petty win. I bet he's still cursing while OP's grinning. Someone get him a mower and OP a trash tactician bin. Lawn War 1. That's a trashy takedown. IT verdict. Is OP the asshole for hiding the can, or was neighbors' laziness fair game? Would you block it too or talk? How do you handle lawn slackers? Drop your take below. And if you've pulled a neighbor prank, spill it. I'm hungry for more blow-up-worthy schemes. We purchased our first home a few years ago. We quickly learned the immediate next-door neighbors hold, shall we say, antiquated opinions about race. The wife introduced herself on moving day and used the occasion to warn us the Oriental couple across the street does not maintain their lawn. Minimal interaction with them after that, until a few months later, when the old curmudgeon husband apparently had too much to drink and felt empowered to share his true feelings across the fence. You and your colored wife should move back to California. I informed him in colorful language I'm not from California. I'm actually from New York. Here's how you can tell. My colored wife informed him she was born in the city we currently live in. No apology. Not even enough self-awareness to blush. He takes insane pride in his yard/garden. I think it's the only reason he has to leave his couch. Every single time we pluck a mature dandelion, we walk over to the property line and blow the seeds in his direction. 3 years in and half his garden plus a goodly portion of his lawn is now dandelions. Racists got weeded, dandelion style. I bet they're still raging while OP's blowing seeds. Someone get them a lawnmower and OP a flower fighter, bouquet, garden grudge smashed. That's a floral smackdown. IT verdict. Is OP the asshole for seeding dandelions, or was racism the real weed? Would you blow seeds too or confront? How do you handle bigoted neighbors? Drop your take below. And if you fought hate with pettiness, share it. I'm starving for more blow-up-worthy blooms. Last week I took a flight from Athens, where I'd been visiting relatives, to London. It was a late flight, I was exhausted and the plane was full. I was in a window seat, which I'd chosen so I could rest my head against the walls and sleep. But when I got to my row there was a guy in my seat. He had big headphones on and had his head turned away from me. I tried telling him that he's in my seat. He doesn't respond. Thinking maybe he can't hear me because of the headphones, so I gently tap him on the shoulder. No reaction. I try again. Still nothing. He doesn't even turn towards me. Edited to add that he's clearly not asleep, he's sitting upright and I can see his eyes are open. I considered calling over a flight attendant to ask him to move, but there isn't one nearby and I'm not in the mood for it to be a whole thing, so I just take the middle seat and quietly fume. A few minutes later, the young woman who is sitting in the aisle seat arrives and takes her seat. She is traveling with her friend, who is sitting in the window seat in the row behind us. They are talking to each other across their seats. Then, the woman sitting in the aisle seat turns to me and asks if I can swap with her friend so they can sit together. I say sure, no problem. Now, at this point it is important to point out that her friend is very fat, borderline obese. Not fat shaming, I'm a heavy guy myself, but she is at least twice as wide as me. I probably would have swapped even if she hadn't been fat, but I saw a chance at revenge. As I get up to move, I see the guy sitting in my seat has turned around and realized what is about to happen. He doesn't look happy and gives me a look like he's saying please don't move. I ignore him and swap seats. I spent the flight mostly with my eyes closed as I try and fail to get a nap. But I do occasionally have a look at the row in front of me, and I am very satisfied to see that the fat woman in front of me is taking up nearly half of the window seat as well as her own seat, and that the guy in my seat is squashed up against the wall of the plane. I hope he spent the flight thinking about how if he'd just taken his own seat, he'd have been able to swap with the fat woman and I'd have been the one pinned against the wall. Maybe next time he will think twice before he takes someone else's seat? Seat stealer got squashed, plain pain. I bet he's still cramped while OP's chilling. Someone get him a ticket and OP a flight feuder, wing, sky-high shade sword. That's an in-flight zinger. IT verdict. Is OP the asshole for the swap, or was seat stealing rude? Would you swap for revenge or call a flight attendant? How do you handle seat snatchers? Drop your take below. And if you've pulled plain pettiness, spill it. I'm ready for more blow-up-worthy turbulence. About 17 years ago, I took a job in Springfield, Massachusetts, as a carpenter to build a rather large convenience store. He wasn't paying quite as much as I wanted, but he really liked my qualifications. So I negotiated for more vacation time. I don't think he originally planned to keep me on that long. He allowed me 3 weeks/year accrued from day one. Anyway, fast forward 8 months and the project is winding down. He probably wanted me to quit, so he moves me into the shop, helping his mechanic maintain his fleet of Mack trucks used to supply the other 28 stores he owns with fuel. Head mechanic and I hit it off well, and I don't mind the work, even though it's a bit greasy. At the time I was traveling a lot, my wife was doing well, and we were doing 3 vacations a year in the Caribbean. We are avid scuba divers. Fast forward 2 years. Had been back from my December vacation for about a month, and was getting psyched up for my February trip, when the owner pulls me aside after the morning meeting. He tells me that I have been getting extra vacation time erroneously. He tells me that I do not have 6 days banked, like my last paycheck said, but that I was 6 days in the hole. I'm like, WTF? Anyways, he's all apologetic, says don't worry, it won't affect my upcoming trip, etc., and that eventually I will start accruing time again. Sure enough, next paycheck shows me at -6 days. Pissed, I call DOL, tell them the company and the situation. They literally say, oh, owner's name? Yeah, he does this kind of stuff often. They explain how I can file a complaint, and they most likely could get my money back, 12 days pay $2400, but that I would most likely be fired that day. I didn't have anything lined up, so I decided to think about it for a couple days. So during my day, I bring trucks in and out of the shop. I grew up on a farm and also have my CDL, brake jobs, oil change, etc. I decided on how I was going to get my money back. I have 2 5-gallon gas cans and I siphon a couple gallons out of every truck. Each truck has 2 90-gallon tanks, so 2 gallons is only 1% of that, hardly noticeable. Sure, there's cameras in the shop, but if you know where they are, it's not hard to stay out of their sight. I take these 2 cans home every night and put it in my home heating oil tank. I did this for 6 years. I had a 330-gallon tank, so eventually, especially summertime, it would be full and I couldn't take any more. It used to cost anywhere from $2,500 to $4,000 per year to heat my house, depending on the price of fuel. One winter, it was $3.89 per gallon, and I would use about 3 tanks a year. I don't steal from employers unless they steal from me first. I figure I saved about $18,000 over 6 years, and only got screwed out of $2,500. Boss stole days, OP siphoned fuel, greasy justice. I bet he's still clueless while OP's toasty. Someone get him an audit and OP a fuel feuder, can wage war one. That's a slick payback. I'd a verdict. Is OP the asshole for siphoning, or was boss's theft fair game? Would you steal back or go legal? How do you handle wage cheats? Drop your take below. And if you've pulled workplace revenge, share it. I'm starving for more blow-up-worthy heists. Wow, blow-up fam, those AI revenges were pure fire. Which petty win had you cheering? Tell me below. I'm reading every comment. Smash that like button and subscribe for more Reddit chaos. Thanks for vibing with me. Next time we've got wilder tales. You won't want to miss it. Catch you then.